questions. You're familiar with most of the mass killings in this country in recent history?
Fair number, yes.
Of the ones that, there's some noted here, I mean, I might be missing some. In Thousand Oaks, there were 12 people killed. There were 17 at Parkland, 25 in Sutherland Springs, Texas, Mandalay Bay, the 58, Orlando, 49, San Bernardino, Charleston, Aurora, Sandy Hook, Virginia Tech. How many of those people came across our southern border that committed those crimes?
To my knowledge, none of those.
None of those people were illegal aliens?
Not to my knowledge, no.
I got the impression, I got confused. I thought illegal aliens, when they got in, they went straight to a taco shop, got a gun, and started killing people. But that doesn't happen.
Not that I'm aware of.
What do you think is the best way to help reduce gun violence in this country?
I think that H.R. 8 is absolutely the right first step to closing this gaping loophole in background checks. I think once H.R. 8 is passed, there's a number of steps that this Congress can take to adequately address and reduce gun violence in America. We know for sure that states that have comprehensive regulation of guns have far lower rates of gun violence than states that have very lax gun regulations. And we can look at a wide range. Today we've been talking about regulation through extreme risk protective orders. We've been talking about age limits on guns. We're talking about very dangerous lethal weapons. We're talking about proper funding of research and CDC, and I can go on. My testimony includes a wide range of possible angles that this Congress can consider as a way to reduce gun violence in this country, almost all of which have research showing the positive impact.
And you're familiar with Everytown for Gun Safety that
Yes.
grew out of the shootings up east. They made this their top priority, that should be passing H.R. 8, this legislation to require background checks on all gun sales. Do background checks on gun sales also relate to less domestic use of domestic shootings and domestic disturbances?
Yes, absolutely. H.R. 8 would not only keep guns out of the hands of individuals who shouldn't have them that are already prohibited, including domestic abusers, it also creates the appropriate floor so that if we expand categories of domestic violence, as was suggested by other witnesses, that we can continue to reduce domestic violence incidents and force all gun sales to include a background check to keep those guns out of those dangerous hands of domestic abusers.
In Memphis, Tennessee, there were 176 deaths because of homicide in 2018. 290% of those were results of gunfire. Do you think the people of Memphis could expect a reduction in that rate if we pass H.R. 8?
It's hard to say that one law alone is going to have a specific impact in one place. We know that starting with closing this loophole and passing universal background checks, and then looking to the specific opportunities to expand upon that, absolutely will reduce gun violence. I think urban centers have particular issues that we can look at. We've been looking very closely at intervention and prevention strategies that particularly address the problems of urban centers and are shown to be incredibly effective, reducing gun violence of up to 70%. So I think looking at the specific issues that face a city is a very important way to proceed, but this is the right way to start.
Charleston, South Carolina, had the horrific church shooting. Did the perpetrator of that mayhem and murders, did that person pass a proper background check, do you know?
No, he did not. There was something that happened in that case called a default proceed, where individuals who don't have the background check completed within 3 days, the dealer has the opportunity to transfer that weapon even without completion of the background check. In this instance, that individual would not and should not have passed a background check.
So, indeed, if H.R. 8 was the law, there's a goodly chance, or a chance, that that individual would not have gotten a gun and those church people would still be alive.
That is the hope, and we also need to look at closing that default proceeds loophole, at expanding the time available to complete background checks in instances where it's unclear whether that person should be entitled to have a gun.
Thank you for your work, and thank you for all the people who have testified, and Mr. Thompson. It's just astonishing to me that with background checks is something I think over 90-some-odd% of the public is supportive, that almost every organization concerned about this thinks will help. And we need to reduce this and not have more moments of silence and deep thoughts and prayers. We've had enough of that. We need action. Thank you, and I yield back the balance of my time.
I thank the gentleman.